Are you looking for all the latest pro football news and content? Of course you are. Who doesn't love football? The question is, how do you get all the latest pro football news and content? There's so many different pro football podcasts on the internet. Which one do you choose? Which one is the right fit for you? Well, you go with the Cross the Middle Show, one of the fastest growing football podcasts out right now. Over the past year, we've climbed the Spotify rankings, become a show you have to listen to if you're a football fan. Find out if the Ravens will go all the way with Odell Beckham Jr. Find out if the Eagles did enough to make it back to the Super Bowl. You'll get all of our best stories for just $1 per month. All you have to do is sign up by clicking the link in the episode description box. So we're at it again on the Cross the Middle Show. We have another episode coming at you. It's Sean Kuzma. We're going to talk a little bit about the Steelers and Browns game. We're also going to recap what happened in that Saints and Panthers game. So we have a review of the doubleheader that went on tonight for the Monday Night Football games. And we're going to start with the Steelers and Browns. The Steelers and Browns basically started off with Alex Highsmith intercepting a pass from Deshaun Watson and taking it to the house. That was a big play by Highsmith in this game to get the game started for the Steelers. They jumped out to an early lead. And then the momentum kind of shifted. The Browns took the lead and took control for most of this game. And it looked like the Steelers were going to be down and out. And then later on in the game, Alex Highsmith forced a fumble. And then TJ Watt scooped and scored. And that was the go-ahead touchdown for the Steelers in this game. Such a big play for the Steelers defense. TJ Watt had another sack in this game. I believe he became the Steelers franchise all-time sack leader. So it was a big night for the Steelers defense, and they got it done. You know, Alex Highsmith, the pick six, TJ Watt, the scoop and score. Those were two defensive touchdowns. So just a big night all around for the Steelers defense. They did a really good job in this game and really were much better than the Steelers offense. The only thing we really saw from the Steelers offense in this game was what George Pickens was able to do. George Pickens caught a pass over the middle, was off to the races, scored a touchdown. It was almost similar to some of the touchdown he had in the preseason where he caught it over the middle and then was off to the races. It's all about the yak with George Pickens. The yards after the catch. He's good, once he catches the football, of turning upfield and then using his legs to finish the play in the end zone. He did that in this game for the Steelers. Kenny Pickett, not as good. He got bailed out by George Pickens on that touchdown, but the other plays that Kenny Pickett made, they just weren't there. He didn't make enough plays. There's a few nice throws, but not enough where you're convinced to say, Kenny Pickett is the guy that's going to lead this team back to prosperity. I feel good about George Pickens. I don't feel as good about Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett needs to be better, needs to provide more offense for the Steelers. Obviously, it's only his second year in the National Football League. He's still getting his feet wet and getting used to being a starter in the National Football League. But he has to be better if the Steelers want to be able to win some games and, get this thing back on track and really stack some wins. Yeah, they got the win tonight over the Browns, but it was all because of that defense. So Kenny Pickett has to be better if this team wants to get back to be a contender. They need him to put some points on the board. They need him to complete some passes and help that offense, move the chains. That's what they need from Kenny Pickett because he was not good enough in this game. George Pickens, very good. Had the touchdown, had a few nice catches, always working that right side of the field. Does a good job of, just providing a target for Kenny Pickett. But Kenny Pickett's got to be able to take advantage of the other receivers that he has and get something out of those other guys because right now it's just George Pickens for this Steelers offense, and Kenny Pickett isn't doing a good enough job getting the other guys in the mix. Some other things that happened in this game, as far as Deshaun Watson goes, Deshaun Watson was basically running for his life this whole entire game. Had a few nice throws to Amari Cooper, but for the most part, it felt like he was running and using his legs more than he was using his arm. Did have some nice throws to Elijah Moore too. So a little bit of Amari Cooper, a little bit of Elijah Moore. Not enough from Deshaun Watson in this game. The Steelers pass rush did a good job of getting after him, and he didn't have much time in the pocket at all. It seemed like that pocket was always collapsing. So just not a good enough showing overall for Deshaun Watson. With how much money they're paying him, he has to be better. He wasn't good enough in this game. So that's something that the Steelers need from Deshaun Watson. He needs to be better. The big storyline from this game was the Nick Chubb injury. Nick Chubb had a serious knee injury. It looks so bad it might actually be a career-ending injury. Now, we don't know if that's going to be the case yet. It looks like he's done for the year, but it was bad. It was so bad that, they didn't even show it on TV because it was just such a tough thing to watch. The Steelers crowd even kind of, cheered Nick Chubb when he was getting carted off the field just as a sign of appreciation for how good of a player Nick Chubb is. Yeah, he was on the rival team, but everybody knows how good Nick Chubb is. They know he's one of the best running backs in the league, so to see him go down like that, nobody wants to see that happen. Such a great career, such a promising career. The last thing you want to see with Nick Chubb is him miss the whole entire year and maybe even longer. It could be his whole career could be in jeopardy with how bad that knee injury is. And nobody wanted to see that, so that was tough to watch for sure. One thing I forgot with the Steelers, so let's jump back to the Steelers. We got to talk about this Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris situation. It feels a lot like Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard last year with the Cowboys, to the point where Jaylen Warren should be the starting running back for the Steelers because Jaylen Warren is explosive. He actually has some giddy up when he runs the football, where Najee Harris is slow and sluggish, and seems like there's just so many runs where Najee Harris, where he just runs into his offensive lineman at the line of scrimmage and gets tackled for maybe a 1 yard, 2 yard gain at most, and it's just not there. And then you see Jaylen Warren come into the game. He did a good job catching the ball in this game. A couple swing passes. They kept getting him the ball out on the perimeter. He's just so fast that he turns it into something. Had a couple nice runs where he moved the chains or got close to moving the chains. So, I think Jaylen Warren has to be the guy. I don't think they can drag their feet anymore with Najee Harris, waiting for Najee Harris to be the guy because Jaylen Warren's better. That's just the reality of the situation. The NFL is a hyper-competitive league. You always had to go with your best shot at winning. And right now, for the Steelers, the best shot at winning is Jaylen Warren. There's no doubt about that. Najee Harris has to come off the bench and be the number 2. It's just the reality of the situation because Jaylen Warren has earned the starting job at this point. He's more explosive, and he's going to provide more big plays for the Steelers offense. Najee Harris is going to have to make the most out of spelling Jaylen Warren as that number 2 running back. But, that's the way the chips fell. I know the Steelers wanted to hold on to Najee Harris as that number 1 running back just because they drafted him so high and they didn't want him to lose his confidence. But things have changed, and Jaylen Warren has solidified himself as the best running back on this team. So it's time to hand him the ball and let him do his thing because he's going to give the Steelers the best shot at winning. Jumping over to that Saints and Panthers game. In this Saints and Panthers game early on, I saw some good plays from Michael Thomas. So it was refreshing to see Michael Thomas get involved early on in this game, and Derek Carr was going to him. And after basically not seeing Michael Thomas for 3 years on the football field, to see him back out there contributing and being a big factor for the Saints offense, I think that was a relief for Saints fans. At least me watching the Saints game, that's the way I felt. I'm not a Saints fan, but I definitely felt like it was good to see Michael Thomas back out there because he's so crucial when it comes to the Saints' success. And he was involved, and he was making catches, and he was, doing his thing for the Saints. Derek Carr and him have a good relationship, so Derek Carr looks his way often, so that's good for Michael Thomas too, because Derek Carr is going to do everything he can to make sure that Michael Thomas is getting the football, and they did a good job together. Derek Carr did a good job in this game. It did enough to win the game and beat the Panthers. There wasn't a lot of scoring in this game, but Derek Carr did enough to outscore this Panthers team and win the game. And ultimately, that's the goal going into these games. So you have to applaud Derek Carr for that. He did have a nice pass to Chris Olave down the sidelines. It was like in the second half, Chris Olave started getting going. Chris Olave made a nice juggling catch down. I think it was the left sideline. Stuck with it. Great concentration. Was able to finish the catch. That was not an easy catch to make. Chris Olave had another catch in that second half, so he started getting it going a little bit. That was good to see because, the Saints are going to need him to be a contributor if they want to maximize their potential. There's no doubt about that. Saw a little bit of Taysom Hill in this game. He was coming in, getting reps at quarterback, did a good job of running the ball. I still like Taysom Hill as a change of pace for this offense, makes them a little bit tougher to defend, and there's just more going on there on the offensive side of the ball to the Saints when Taysom Hill comes into the game, for a handful of plays, and they're able to just change the dynamic of their offense a little bit, and it's just another wrinkle that has to be game planned for. He did all right in this game too. The throw to Rashid Shaheed, that was Derek Carr's best throw in this game, I thought, deep down the right sideline. Derek Carr let it fly, put it right out in front of Rashid Shaheed. Shaheed made the catch. I thought, that was Carr's best throw. And he showed, why he can be a big help for this team coming over from the Raiders. When he makes throws like that and he throws it down the field and is able to stretch the field, you see why, this offense might have a little more giddy up with Derek Carr opposed to the guys they had in the past, Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton, the rest of those guys. The running backs scored a couple touchdowns. That Rashid Shaheed throw from Derek Carr set up a touchdown late in the game, which was basically the touchdown that clinched the game for the Saints. I think that gave them like 20 points in this game. The running backs for the Saints chipped in, I think, a pair of touchdowns it was. So, not the most convincing win for the Saints, especially considering when they were going against the Panthers, and the Panthers seem to be down this year. They look like one of the worst teams in the league. So you'd like to see the Saints really beat up on the Panthers in that game and put together a more convincing win. At least go over 35 points and really hand it to the Panthers. That didn't happen for whatever reason. It was tighter than it probably should have been. Like I said, the Saints should have been more convincing. But in the National Football League, you take any win you can get it, any way you can get it, and the Saints are 2-0. So the NFC South, you got Bucks, Saints, Falcons are all 2-0. It's shaping up to be a tight race in the NFC South. We're gonna see if the Saints with Derek Carr can, challenge the Bucks with Baker Mayfield and the Falcons with Desmond Ridder and Bijan Robinson for, NFC South supremacy. They're gonna battle it out. We'll see what happens. As far as the Panthers go, I did not see enough from Bryce Young in this game, and you have to wonder if going with Bryce Young was the right decision for the Panthers, with that first overall pick, because this team is struggling and Bryce Young really isn't doing too much to help them. He hasn't been great. He's actually been bad. Not horrible, but he hasn't been good. He's been bad. There's no doubt about that. He looks like a deer in the headlights. People are going to say, he needs more time to develop. He's on a bad team. They're going to say a lot of things, but, a lot of the things that we were concerned about with Bryce Young, the size, the fact that he doesn't, do great from the pocket. He seems to do better when he's escaping and throwing on the run. Those things are a serious concern when you're in the National Football League, because we know the mold in the National Football League are big quarterbacks that are tall with big arms who do their best work from the pocket, pocket passers. Bryce Young isn't those things. And, I thought Derek Carr was better than him in this game. And when you take a guy with the first overall pick, you expect him to be the best quarterback on the field. He was not the best quarterback on the field. Derek Carr was clearly better. So I'm a little bit concerned about this Panthers offense. I'm concerned about Bryce Young. I think their weapons aren't good enough. Adam Thielen had some catches. Jonathan Mingo had some catches. But, Thielen, DJ Shark, Jonathan Mingo, it's not working right now. Hayden Hurst, it's not good enough. And Bryce Young hasn't been good enough. So it's definitely concerning for the Panthers. They have to find a way to get better on offense. Doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon unless they can work a trade. You don't see that happen too often in the NFL, so they'll probably just take their licks, get to the offseason, keep drafting on the offensive side of the ball, add some free agents. But it's going to be a tough road ahead for Bryce Young. It looks like he's going to take some serious lumps this year, and that's just the reality of the situation, and the Panthers are going to be a bad football team. They dropped 0-2. Bryce Young has that deer in the headlights look, not looking good for Bryce Young at all. So that's the recap of the 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. I'm John Kuzma. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Cross the Middle Show. Check us out wherever podcasts are found. Also sign up for $1 per month by clicking the link in the episode description box. I'm signing off. Have a great night.